Members, I call the Honourable Member Jacinda Ardern.
Mr. Speaker, I'm honoured to stand in this House today, and I'd like to join my colleagues who have gone before me in congratulating you on your election as Speaker. Maiden speeches are a bit like words spoken in a heated argument. Like it or not, they will come back to haunt you. So today I want to share with you the words that I wish to haunt me, my values and beliefs, the things that brought me here, and I do so in the hope that should I ever abandon them, I will have the good grace to leave. But I cannot begin without first paying tribute to the previous leader of the Labour Party, Helen Clark. There are many reasons why I joined the Labour Party, but it was Helen who made me proud to be a member. My generation grew up under your leadership, Helen, and many don't know how good they had it. I have no doubt that your leadership will leave a legacy well beyond my own generation. Mr. Speaker, I cannot pinpoint when exactly my interest in politics began, but I know it began young. I was born in Hamilton, but in the 80s, my family relocated to Murupara, where my father took up a role as the local police sergeant. My memories of that place are vivid. I knew that a lot of people had lost their jobs, but I didn't understand that it was down to the privatisation of the forestry industry and the complete lack of central government support. I knew there were suicides and that the girl that used to babysit my sister and I one day turned yellow from hepatitis and couldn't visit us anymore. But I didn't understand the linkages between these things and the poverty of the community that I was living in. My passion for social justice came from what I saw. My love of politics came when I realised that it was the key to changing what I saw. And there is much to change. The fifth Labour government made good progress on what I believe must continue to be our focus, reducing poverty in this country. Labour ensured that no elderly person lives below the poverty line, but that doesn't mean that many do not still live a very hard life. We lifted 130,000 children out of poverty through working for families, but that doesn't mean that many do not remain there still. I will not pretend that the response is simple. It is not. The majority of children living in poverty now are dependents in families where the main means of support is a government benefit. But if you believe our welfare state is a necessary safety net and a support for those unable to support themselves, as I do, then the children living in these circumstances should not be living in poverty. These children are not part of an underclass, as I've heard them be called. They are part of our community, and we have a responsibility to continue the momentum of the last Labour government and to finally rid ourselves of poverty in Aotearoa, New Zealand. This is our collective challenge. But Murupara and the wonderful people who live there and continue to work hard to rejuvenate their community form just one of the many lessons that I have learned. Demonstrating my parents' absolute love of big cities, my family relocated to Morrinsville. I have very good memories of growing up in this small rural Waikato town. It's a key productive region of New Zealand and the region of my family. My grandfather dug the drains there, my other grandfather farmed there, and I had the privilege of campaigning there in the last election. It's a place that keeps me grounded. I attended Morrinsville College, a fantastic school and an example of why we should be proud of our public education system and the teachers working within it. I only wish that my education could have extended to the universal teaching of Te Reo Māori so that more of my generation could converse in our national language rather than more common offering of German, French and Japanese. Education and language builds understanding, and I join colleagues who have gone before me in calling for the universal and compulsory teaching of Te Reo in our schools and all of the necessary resourcing that goes with it. Morrinsville College was also the place where I experienced my first election, campaigning on the weighty electoral issue that girls should be allowed to wear trousers to school. I was elected to the Morrinsville College Board of Trustees and was subsequently appointed to the suspension committee as the student representative. It was tough. I sat face to face with my peers who were facing removal from the education system. And while I had no qualms handing down punishment to those students who were bullies in our schools, I also saw many come before us who quite clearly had no emotional or financial support from their families, from their caregivers, from their community. Mr. Speaker, so much lies in our beginnings. Research tells us that young people who find themselves in front of the criminal justice system have also experienced instability in their home, they've witnessed violence, and 3 out of 4 are likely to have grown up in families that didn't have enough to get by. We will never find durable solutions that genuinely prevent issues like disengagement in education right through to entry into the criminal justice system if we continue to look at the shallow end of the problem. Morrisville brought with it other experiences. I got my first job when I was 14 at a fish and chip shop and eventually ended up at a grocery store like a number of my colleagues have. It was the 90s. I earned roughly $5 an hour. I joined a union that struggled to support us under the realities of the Employment Contracts Act, and I saw the real consequences of working for a hostile management team. I saw the importance of unions again when, in 2005, on a whim, I packed my bags and I moved to New York. While I struggled to find work, I volunteered in a soup kitchen and on a campaign for home care workers who had been without an employment contract for over a decade. I busied myself as a campaign assistant coming up with chants, whilst fine in a Kiwi accent never quite sounded right when belted out by Americans, and I organised the workers. Their very presence on that picket line threatened their livelihood, and it was an experience that deepened my commitment to balance in employment relationships, a balance I was shocked to see so severely disrupted in my very first week in this House. But Mr. Speaker, I've never given up on finding new ways to change what was going on around me, but I am the first to concede I am not a normal young person. This election, young people made up 50% of those who didn't bother to enrol. They're the least likely age group to vote and the most likely to be affected by the decisions that we make here. I have the privilege of holding the Youth Affairs portfolio. There are many issues within this role: health, education, justice, but it cannot just be about speaking on behalf of young people, but rather giving them the opportunity and the reason to speak for themselves. Like many who have gone before me, I too believe that civic education plays a massive role in this, but so too does the simple impact of our example. We all have a responsibility to help restore a little faith in our political processes, to continually show the relevance of politics to young people and the wider community, to find new and better ways of listening and responding. Some may call this participatory democracy. I just call it our job. One of my first opportunities to see all sides of a Member of Parliament's role was when I took a job in Phil Goff's office. It was an honour to work for you, Phil. I saw firsthand just how hard you're prepared to work for New Zealanders and your commitment to them, and I'm very honoured to work with you once more. Mr. Speaker, like so many Kiwis, I also took up the opportunity to travel abroad. I studied at Arizona State University for a semester. Midway through my time there, 2 planes flew into the World Trade Center and everything around me changed. I've watched as international politics has continued to change while serving as the president of the International Union of Socialist Youth, an umbrella organisation of over 150 progressive youth movements from around the world. This role has sent me to some far-flung places around the globe, from Bhutanese refugee camps to the people of Western Sahara, Lebanon, Jerusalem, the West Bank, and the wall that divides the two. Some people have asked me if I am a radical. My answer to that question is very simple. I am from Morrinsville. Where I come from, a radical is someone who chooses to drive a Toyota rather than a Holden or a Ford. I am, though, a social democrat, and I believe what I believe strongly, the values of human rights, social justice, equality, democracy, and the role of communities. And I do believe that we have a role to play in defending these principles abroad. For anyone who has moved abroad, you know what it's like to reflect on your home from afar, and I have always done so with pride. Not just for our position on foreign affairs, but for our thriving music and film industry, for our culture and our heritage, and also for our country's beauty. But these are things that do not merely exist. They must be fostered and they must be protected, and with more than just empty rhetoric. I fear that our pride in New Zealand's clean green reputation is already misplaced. It is shameful enough that we're about to lose New Zealand's most proactive piece of legislation in response to the impacts of climate change that we have seen to date. It is unspeakable that in addition we now have a parliamentary select committee to question the science of climate change itself. We had the potential to be a world leader. The National Party told us we should be fast followers. But now, Mr. Speaker, all I see are the many, many losers. The future generations who some people in this House do not believe they have a responsibility to. Well, I do. There are other things that time working in an international environment can teach you. I spent 3 years in the United Kingdom working as a public servant, a career I have a great amount of respect for. This role took me from the UK Cabinet Office to the Department for Business and Enterprise, where I was an assistant director working on regulatory issues. I spent most of my time, probably as a shock to the other side of the house, talking to small businesses, local authorities, even police officers, trying to understand the delicate balancing act between creating a regulatory environment that protects our citizens whilst also allowing business and public services to flourish. I am very mindful of the importance and the need for both. With a strong economy comes the chance to further strengthen public services and create a fairer society for everyone. But, Mr. Speaker, personal experiences are only a very small part of the thing that bring you to a place, and I have to acknowledge the role of my family. My parents have always challenged me and supported me. They've shown me that the world is not black and white, nor is it rose-tinted, and I honour them. I honour my mother, who gave up everything for her girls in an era where choices were made between career and family. I honour my father for his dedication to his family and to the New Zealand Police for the past 35 years. He has seen the most horrific side of human nature, but has always shown compassion and a commitment to building communities in New Zealand and now in Niue. And to my dear sister Louise, nothing bores you more than politics, which is why your support has meant so very much to me. But, Mr. Speaker, outside of my dear Auntie Anne, it was my nana who was the true political beast in my family. Gladys was staunch Labour. Sadly, I never had the opportunity to ask her what made her so passionate that she would switch off the TV if Muldoon ever came on for at least 10 minutes to make sure he wasn't polluting her screen any longer. I know I can do no better than to make Gladys, Harry and Annie proud. To my Waikato campaign team who fought hard alongside me in a seat that's been held by National for the past 40 years, including my wonderful grandparents, next time we'll take it on the specials. To all my friends, to the new and existing Labour team, to Darren for all of the leave I know you'll grant me, and also for dispensing the kind of advice that proves you're born middle-aged but that you were also born wise. To Marion Hobbs, the old conscience of this House, to Michael, I'm proud to be the youngest member of this Parliament, but even prouder to serve here with you as the father of this House. I thank you all. So there it is, the answer to that golden question. It is the things I've seen, the lessons I have learned, the people of New Zealand I wish to serve that have brought me to this place. And these are the very things that I wish to haunt me for as long as I have the privilege of serving here. Morena, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Okay.